what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make my miniature house number 1. This is going to be the first in a series of miniature houses that I'm going to be putting up on my channel. The deal behind these houses is this. So, they're not supposed to be used as survival houses, and they're really not supposed to be that functional whatsoever. They're supposed to be very small, very easy to make, in my opinion, pretty cool looking houses that require very little time investment, and for what time you do invest, they're supposed to just look really good, and I quite like them. They're not going to take up the regular house tutorial time slot. I'm going to upload these sometime midweek. If you want to make this despite all of that stuff, here's what you're going to need. You will need some block of quartz. Also, grab yourself some black stained clay. By the way, it doesn't have to be black stained clay. If you would prefer to use some form of wood instead, or maybe some form of wool, or whatever of material you might have in mind, you can use that instead of the black stained clay. And then all you'll need to grab is some glass pane. And once you have each one of those three materials right there, and once you've figured out where you want to make it, I'll be making it right here, you're going to want to kick off your house with a row of 3 quartz coming directly up from the floor. So that's 1, 2, 3. Once you have your row of 3 quartz, you then want to take this top block, this third block, and extend it, going right by 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then connect that 6th block to the ground, like this, to form an N shape. Once you have this, you now want to designate which side you want to be the front of your house. For instance, this is the front side of my house. Once you've figured that out, you then want to come to the back of your house, take each one of the top 2 corners of your N shape, and extend them going back towards where the back of the house is going to be, each by 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then connect each one of these 6 blocks together, and also connect each one of those 6 blocks to the ground to form a nice little table shape, like that. Once you've got that figured out, you now want to come to the front of your house once again, and starting from on top of this front left hand corner block, this one that I have highlighted right here, you want to go up on top of this block by 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then go left of this 5th block by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then connect this 4th block all the way down to the ground, like this, to form a larger N shape. Once you've got that figured out, you now want to do this. So you guys can see where we have this horizontal row of quartz here. Well, we basically want to extend that horizontal row of quartz into the N shape that we've just made, and you kind of want to make an A shape like this. You also, if you guys will notice, we've got that single quartz kind of poking out of the left hand side, just like that. Once you've made this shape on the front left hand side of your house, you now want to do the exact same thing on the front right hand side. So on top of this block right here, go up by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then go right of this 5th block by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Connect it all the way to the ground, like this. And then add that horizontal row of quartz right there to kind of turn it into an A shape, like this. And don't forget that single quartz poking out of the side. Once you've got that taken care of on the front of your house, you now want to do the exact same thing on the back of your house. So coming to the back, we'll start with this back left hand corner, go up on top of this corner block by 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, connect it to the ground just as I've done there, and then add your horizontal row of quartz. Like so. Once you've done it to the left hand side, do the exact same thing to the right hand side. Row of 5, row of 4, connect it to the ground, and then do your horizontal row of quartz. Like this. Once you have done that 4 times in total, you now want to connect the front and the back of the house together with 2 rows of quartz like this. You basically want to take the top 2 corners of your A shapes and you just want to connect the front of the house and the back of the house together, like this. once you've formed that shape, this is what you want to do next. So to make the next few parts easier, we're now going to fill in the second floor of the house. So the second floor of the house is this area that I'm now sealing off. It should actually be pretty obvious looking at it. So if you guys can see this here, it's kind of difficult to get a full view of the second floor, but you guys should be able to see where the second floor kind of starts and ends. It should hopefully just be obvious. I can't really put it into words at all, but hopefully you guys can see that. Anyway, once you've got that sectioned off, you then just want to completely fill in the second floor of your house with whatever material you like, really. I'm going to be using quartz, just because the framework of the house is made out of quartz, and I think it's the best match. But of course you can just use whatever colour you like. If you want to use the black clay, or if you want to use anything, absolutely anything, that's up to you. But all that matters is that the entire second floor of your house is completely filled in with something. So once you guys have reached this point right here, I feel as though it's time for us to add some detail to this house. So come all the way down to the front of your house and do this. You know what, the way that I'm going to do this, and I do this in quite a few of my houses, I'm just going to add all of the necessary detail to the front of the house, and then I'm just going to show you guys the end result of it. Reason being is because I really don't think it's necessary for me to painstakingly go through every single block placement in every single little section of this front of the house. I just don't feel as though that's necessary. I'm sure that you guys will be able to take a look at the view that I'm going to give you once I've finished, and you will be able to determine what you have to do for yourselves quite easily. There you go, isn't that really easy? Just to run it through, for the entrance we added those two vertical rows of quartz block either side of the entrance, which is the two middle blocks. We then added some black stained clay in the two empty spaces, and the black stained clay kind of just sits one block behind the actual quartz framework of the house. And for the two A shapes, very similar, we've got the black stained clay again that kind of just sit inside of the A shape, and then we've just got glass pane everywhere else, and I'm sure that you guys will have no problem adding that. So pause this video if necessary, apply everything that you see onto your own house. Once you've done that, you can then move on to the sides. So moving on to the sides, we're doing the exact same thing here. I'm just going to apply everything that needs applying, and then I'm going to show you guys what it should look like. It's really simple. So we've just about already finished it. That's how easy it is. This is what you want to have on both sides of your house. Again, pause this video if necessary, apply everything that you see here. Once you've done that to your house, you can now move on. So I'm now just going to move all the way over to the opposite side here, where I'm actually going to do literally the exact same thing. Both sides of the house are extremely similar, and by similar I mean identical. So I'm just going to add in all of the necessary blocks here, and once we've got this side taken care of, we can actually move on to the back. So as you can see, left and right side completely identical to each other. Once you've got both of those taken care of, we can now move on to the back. So the back of the house is actually almost identical to the front. It's very similar, and that's why I said that both sides are very similar to each other. I was actually trying to talk about the front and the back. So the only difference between the front of the house and the back of the house is that on the front of the house we leave the space open in the center part here that I'm just making now. We leave these two spaces open because we use it as an entrance. On the back of the house, however, we don't do this. On the back of the house, we fill in this little center part here with glass pane. So from the outside, you want to have something which should look like this. And like I said, it's almost identical to the front. Almost. Very close. Once you've got the back of your house taken care of, and obviously pause this if necessary, we can now move on to the final touches. So, coming to the center part of the house now, we just have to make the two entrances for the balcony, which are really simple. So, first of all, we just want to connect those two sides of black stained clay together, top block to top block, like that. And then you just want to do two very small quartz archways in front of the black stained clay, and that will form an entrance on the right and left hand side of the house, leading you onto the balcony, as you guys can see. Really simple. Once you've got that taken care of, if you want, I always like to do this, you may want to add a strip of glass pane on the front and the back of your house, just where the little center balcony is, just to make sure nobody's gonna fall off. And once you've done that, we do actually only have one last thing to do for the structure of the house, which I actually just remembered about now. So, turns out we needed one more material. We needed ourselves some glass blocks. So if you grab that, and then you come to the two little spires that we have on the left and right hand side of the house, and you just fill in the center part of those two things, those two towers on the left and right hand side of the house like that. If you just fill in the two center parts at the top of each of the towers, like so, with your glass block, you've completely finished the house. That's it. That is the structure of the house 100% done, and it's looking pretty nice. It's looking pretty good. Really simple to make. If you know what you're doing with the house, you can have this up in less than 10 minutes. Looks fantastic, in my opinion. What I'm now going to do, and it won't be part of this tutorial, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to whisk away. I'm going to mess about with the inside of the house the smallest amount that you can imagine, and I'm also going to do the exact same thing to the outside of the house as well. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back in just a second. And I'm not going to tutorial anything that I'm now doing. I'm just going to show you guys what it will look like. So back in a mo. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have messed about with the outside of the house and the inside of the house just a little bit as well. Let's see what I've done, shall we? We will start with the inside. So for the inside, what have I done? Well, I ripped up the original floor, replaced it with quartz. Why did I use quartz? Well, it's because I knew that I wanted to use quartz on the outside as well. I wanted the inside and the outside to kind of meld together. Decided to use quartz for the floor. I also installed two staircases, which aren't exactly practical. So the only way that I could find of adding two staircases that wouldn't really obstruct like walking in and out of these two mini rooms that we have here is adding the staircase here, or staircases I should say. I wanted to keep everything symmetrical. It would definitely be a lot easier if you only wanted one staircase, then you've got a load of options, but if you want two that are symmetrical, here is the only place that I could find that actually worked. I tried to have two staircases, like one coming up in one tower and one coming up in the other tower. Didn't work. I started having things grip onto the glass pane, which I didn't like, or I plain just I just couldn't get up the staircases because I'd have to like knock away parts of the actual framework of the house. But there you go, the house is actually functional despite how small it is. You could actually use it as a survival house if you wanted to, although I would suspect that the materials would make it a bit difficult. We're on the outside. I was going to say let's move on to the outside now, but we are actually on the outside. So for the outside, I dug 3 spaces around the house, as you guys can see. Replaced the first 2 spaces with quartz block, just because I thought it'd look cool, and it does, to be honest. The third space, I dug it out and I replaced it with black stained clay, then placed jungle leaves on top, which is what I use for the hedging, and the spaces in between, like the parts of the framework of the house, I dug those out, and if you guys can see, I actually had to replace some blocks which were showing as dirt. I had to replace those with quartz, and then I just threw water all the way around the house, like just in between these spaces of the framework, and I think it looks kind of cool, to be honest. I don't know why I decided that this house needed a moat. No clue why, but I think it looks pretty good, and it really doesn't take too long to do. So if you're on creative, it doesn't take too long to do, but I imagine that if you're on survival, this might take a little bit of time. But if you're on creative, you know what you're doing. You can get this house up, including the interior and the exterior. You can probably get this thing up in less than 20 minutes, and I think that looks absolutely fantastic. I've made quite a few other houses in this style. I'm so far up to 3, but I find them really easy to make. I have a few more ideas in my head, so I think that the miniature house series is going to continue for a little while, and it is not just limited to the quartz either. I also have some wood wooden and some brick houses in mind for the miniature house series. So hopefully you guys like this. I like it a lot, and I will see you in the next video. I don't know how many of these I may do a week. I might do one, I might do two, who knows. It kind of depends if you guys like it or not. You guys might not like it, and that's a risk we run, isn't it? But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.